How's it going, House Corvo? Today we're going to be doing the final step of the shield crafting tutorial. This is the final step that you need to actually make your shield functional, and you'll be starting off with what we made last video, with these beauties, turning them into this kind of ugly mess. Now, this only actually has one coat on it, and it's going to have more, but I'm doing this at like 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, because we have a big event coming up this weekend, and I'm trying to get these done on time. So it's going to look a little rough for right now, but trust the process. So this video is also going to be rough because I don't have a tripod and I don't have any help today, but that's fine. We'll make it work. We will make it work. All right. So essentially what we're going to be working with today is we have our shield here, and we have these beautiful cans of Plastidip. This stuff is gross, but it is incredibly useful. The reason we use this is because, A, it comes in a spray form, which is very useful for finishing up. But the other reason we use this instead of like Flex Seal is because Flex Seal dries pretty hard, and this still needs to be flexible to be safe and also just to be, generally more usable. And yeah, we just take this stuff, open it up, and you paint it on. Now, I generally would suggest doing 2 coats. This only has 1 coat, and you can see I've got it hanging up to dry in our garage. That's why it looks kind of rough, and it does take a minute to dry, and you want to make sure you get it in these gaps nice and clean. You want to make sure it fully, I don't know if you can see, it shows up fine. You want to make sure that it gets, and if it gets all over your handle, that's fine. We're going to be covering that up. You can put a leather wrap on that, or you can put a athletic tape on it, whatever you want. It getting on the handle is not really nothing. But you want to make sure that all of the surface is covered, because we don't want any exposed foam, including the edges. You want to make sure it's all covered, and give it 2 coats of that liquid Plastidip. For a shield this size, 1 can will do a little bit less than 2. If you can get it to 2 if you're really, really careful. This stuff is a little pricey, but it's not bad. So 2 coats of the liquid, paint it on with these foam brushes. It will ruin these brushes, so don't use a nice brush, like the 4-cent, or in this economy, 20-cent brushes. Paint it onto this, and put 2 coats on that, and then when you're done, take your spray Plastidip, apply. You only really need 1, but I would recommend doing 2 just to make sure, but you don't want to overdo the Plastidip, because if you do, then it starts to get really hard and not really as flexible. And this does come in some other colors, so if you want like a different color shield base coat, you can use that as your base coat, and it'll help speed up your painting process. And then you paint it. I will show you the kind of paint that we recommend once we get to that stage, but most of this video is pretty much just going to be me, it's a sped up version of me painting all these shields. So yeah, we'll get to it. Hey, we're back. Slow down. I turned off the speed up for a second here because I just want to talk to you guys. When you are painting this on, it will begin to dry as you're painting it. Is that a massive pain in the butt? Yes, it is. But it works out. Trust me. It all works out in the end. All right. Get back to it. Okay. And this is pretty much the front side done. Now, I don't know if you guys can see on camera, but there's some gaps in here that I couldn't quite get the liquid into. That's okay, because those gaps, once they're filled, they'll pretty much stay filled. And I'm more worried about making sure that the base coat on everything is done. And we're going to move on to the back and the edges here. Now for the edges, I'll talk to you guys with this little tip really quick. Before I get to the back, I can actually set this down right here. I don't know how well you guys can see. But when you get the edges, it's a little easier if you dip the brush in. Get some on your brush. And then bring this to the edge. Little bit easier to apply it. All right, we'll speed back up here. Okay, howdy guys, we're back. So yeah, so that's the front and the edges. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead, now that you've seen this, this is almost empty. Now I'm gonna show you a quick little fun technique you can do with this. So obviously you can swipe around the edges and everything, but to get a little bit more out of here, you can stick the brush in and kind of twist it around. And you get a lot more plastic out of the can. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. And this is the tricky part, is trying to do this by yourself. I highly recommend having a friend with you. Normally I would have a friend with me, but because I'm doing this so late, couldn't really find anyone. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut the video here. And I will get back to you guys when this bad boy is done. And we'll get on and do the second coat for that one. And once I got the two base coats done for these two shields, we'll get on to the spray. Catch you then. Welcome back, House Corvo. So we're back with these have now had two coats of the liquid plastic dip applied. They look a little bit less rough, a little bit smoother. You can see there's a couple bumps and stuff here from where it pooled a little bit, but that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. If you're really upset about it, cut it off, but it's not going to be a big deal. And now that that's done, we're going to be moving on. I'm going to go outside for this part. It is currently 12:40 at night, so it's pretty dark, but we're going to be working on the other shield. We are going to be using our beautiful, sorry, the angle got a little weird there, beautiful spray plastic dip for the next part. So with this part, this is pretty much just spray paint, but a lot grosser. That's us packing for the next event, ignore that. Pretty much just spray paint, but grosser. What you want to do, you want to make sure that I've actually put a little too much plastic dip in some of these gaps. That's why you see it pooling like this, but that's okay. But what you want to do with this is you want to try to make the surface as even and smooth as you can get it. If you textured your foam to give you any sort of like wood pattern or anything, this will be a little bit less noticeable. But it'll be fine either way. So you want to try to get this as smooth as you can with the spray, and you want to make sure you get in here and get all the nooks and crannies, and you especially want to get the edge, because the edge is the part that's going to be taking the most. Actually, there you can see a little bit of the foam is exposed right here. You want to make sure you get the edge, because that's the part that's going to get hit the most. I will tell you guys for sure, though, you don't need to really worry about the back. I'm going to spray the gaps and the little edges here, but I'm not going to really worry about making the back even and pretty, well, because no one's really going to be looking at the back. But I am going to be doing that with the front. And we'll go ahead and get to that. So, now, you definitely want to be in an area with ventilation, which is why I opened the garage door. And you want to make sure you don't spray yourself with this stuff, because it's no plasti dip and it's not ever going to come off if you do it. And yeah, we'll go ahead, we'll speed through this. I'm hearing some weird noises out here. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. I love working up late. You never know what's going to happen. I could get attacked by a coyote or even a wendigo. Wouldn't that be a story? Catch it on camera? Alright. So obviously, because I just sprayed the front of this, I want to do my best to avoid putting too much of the paint on the, or the plasti dip on the ground. But as you can see, this stuff dries pretty quick. So it's not going to be too big of a problem. Okay, I think we are pretty much done. I'm just going to do one more spray on the front boss right here, thin out, or even out the front just a little bit more. And I think that's done. So we'll go ahead and just pick up my phone here. Got a little plasti dip on my hands. What we're going to do is we're going to go hang this up by the other one. And we'll get back to it in just 1 second. So, as you can see, we got this one sprayed. I'm not the best at using spray paint, so it is going to be a little spotty. But all in all, it's alright. And now I'm going to go ahead and spray this one. And you can see, even still, there is still a difference. Some of that stuff it's still wet. But you can see in the spots that are dry how much smoother it makes it look. It's not going to be perfect, but it doesn't really need to be. So, yeah. We'll go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and finish up the next shield. And we will come right back with the finished dried product. And I'm actually going to set this down on the ground so that it dries evenly. Yeah, looks pretty good. Yeah, so we got that one drying. Again, I'm not the best spray painter, and I also sprayed in here last, which is part of the reason it looks more wet. So, well, because it is. Yeah, and we'll go ahead and we'll get this one finished. And, yeah, we'll be right back after that's done. And voila! Here, let me turn my flash on real quick, make it a little easier for you guys to see. So, we now have, they're still drying, but they'll be alright. We have our two shields that have been sprayed with the spray Plastidip, and you can see how much smoother the surface is. I mean, it's still a little rough, and actually, interestingly, it actually looks rougher on camera than it does in real life, but, I mean, it's a little rough, a little bit of texture, but you'll be fine. This thing will stop a sword hit good better than any that your enemy's probably using, you know. Good quality shield. Once again, I'm not really good at spray painting. I have somebody who's gonna paint these for me, who's much better at painting shields than I am. Speaking of paint, so when it comes to paint, well, you can really use any kind of paint. We actually have a bunch of spray paint, but it's really high up and I don't have any help, so I don't want to get crushed because it is currently 1 a.m. in the morning right now. So, I don't want to have my family come downstairs and see me dead in the garage. So, we're not going to get it out, but you can use standard spray paint, like just regular Rust-Oleum spray paint for whatever, any color, any pattern, anything you need like that. You can use that for the shields. Do not ever use gloss. Sorry, the light's in your face. Do not ever use gloss on the shields because gloss, for some reason, sometimes it doesn't like the Plastidip. But the main reason is because the gloss cracks a lot easier. It's not nearly as flexible. Satin is okay, but you want to use a matte paint because that will tend to be the most durable. And also the least resistant to any sort of marks or anything being visible on the shield, because foam on foam, eventually you're going to get a little bit of abrasion from either of the people's weapons or a little bit of it scraping off, but matte will hold up the best. If you are going to use a paint that is going to be crazy durable and you are willing to spend the extra money, all of our Warhammer fans on this channel use this stuff. Obviously, this stuff's pretty pricey, and obviously they don't come in every color, but for metals, if you're doing any sort of silver anything on your shield, good old Leadbelcher. You're not going to get any better silver-colored thing than you need on that, and you can do a base coat on anything to make it a brighter or a darker color, but if you're doing silver and you want it to last, this also comes in, this is a Citadel paint. They're owned by Games Workshop, I believe. And you can find this at Games Workshop or any sort of gaming store or anything like that. And by gaming, I mean like tabletop, like D&D, like Flames of War, Warhammer, of course, stuff like that. They've got a couple different colors. They got red, they got silver, they got white, they got black. Good base coats, but this is really what you're going to want to use for any silver. But you could just use regular Rust-Oleum silver. That would be perfectly fine as well. So, yeah, so that is our shield. We're not going to be going over painting or anything because you can really do any sort of paint job you want, depending on how your shield's constructed. There's a squirrel in my roof. You can use any sort of paint job you want. You know, if you've got any sort of embossing with your craft foam that we did at an earlier stage, you can paint that separate. These are just going to be painted half red, half left. The other half's going to be red, half black. We like to keep our shield designs pretty simple so we can make more of them pretty fast. But if you have your own custom shield thing you want to do, go crazy. Have fun with it. This has been the House Corvo shield crafting tutorial. I'll see you guys in the next video.